Welcome to the Indigo Minute podcast. I am your host, Maxim Presence, and today I'm speaking with my friend Zach Loeb, who is a career coach, a psychic, a medium, and a channel. Later in the podcast, he's going to be channeling Jesus for me, and we're going to be talking about Ascension. So without further ado, let's dive deep into the collective super conscious. What's up, Zach?
What's up, Maxim? Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you?
I'm good.
How's your week been? What have you been thinking about lately? What have you been manifesting? Like, what's been going on?
Let's see here. I just noticed on the cover of Time magazine, big article about mindfulness. It just feels like these ideas, this new way of understanding our spirituality just seems to be growing. That's what I'm noticing.
Yeah, it's expanding. Where do you think it's going to be, like, in the next 5-10 years?
One place that I see it going more towards is the business world. You're starting to see that a little bit. You see yoga classes, you see mindfulness retreats, you see these things popping up more and more in the business world, but I still feel like that's a place where this way of thinking is a little bit less widespread.
And you do a lot of different retreats and workshops about intuitive and business oriented sort of coaching, right?
Right, using intuition to help in making career and business decisions, because I feel like how we're taught to make decisions has to do with very logical processes, making checklists, pros and cons, making really rational, brain-oriented decisions, which is certainly valid. But I think there's another piece, and that's our own intuition. That's our own higher self to help us in steering us towards the right experiences, the right people, the right opportunities. And that's what I like to talk about.
So tell me, like, what's like the sort of the center or the kernel of that ability to follow your intuition? You know what I mean? How does one stay in that? I guess it's like a flow state, pretty much.
Yeah, a lot of people refer to it as a flow state, when you feel like you're not even having to make the choices yourself, because you're just allowing yourself to being guided to whatever you need to go to next.
And it's the guide to me. It's like a feeling of like, this is it. This is the exciting thing. Like, it's sort of like an excitement, like a light around the choice.
Yeah, at a very, very simple level, it's following your excitement.
Yeah.
It's just moving in the direction of what excites you the most. That is in its core. At the same time, you can break it down a little bit more. You can say, okay, I'm also going to look at the synchronicities and look at where I'm seeing the patterns pop up in my life.
Yeah.
But if you want to just make it simple, just go to what seems fun.
Yeah, and do you also incorporate your own free will in projecting and putting out there, like, this is what I want?
Absolutely. I mean, we always have free will.
Right.
And I think it starts with, what do I want? Getting clear on what you want.
Yeah.
Setting that intention, but then letting go of how it happens.
Exactly. So that's just to clarify, because it's like, you don't want to just go with the flow. You want to decide where you want to go and then allow the flow to take you there.
Right.
And
that
then
is,
you go with the
yes,
flow.
that's a very key step in the process.
Yeah, there's like key steps that are pretty important. The whole manifestation thing is really interesting to me, because you can set an intention, and what I realize is no intention is more harder than any other intention to achieve, unless you have the belief that it is. So, like, at a certain level, like, accomplishing something small can be as easy as accomplishing something big if you remove the belief that there's a longer process in between.
And then I think that core piece right there about beliefs, that is where I think people can get stuck. They don't recognize what their true beliefs at an unconscious level are.
Yeah.
And how do you change these beliefs that could have been in you for your whole life or your whole many lives?
Yeah.
And recognizing what's there, and then shifting that.
Yeah, for me, when I work with like clients one-on-one in a coaching setting, my number one thing is looking at how the person is relating to their challenge. Like, what is their relationship to it? Because it's the belief, it goes back to the belief is like, if my relationship towards X person or X situation is of a negative nature, then I must be believing something for that to be true. So it's like my relationship to it is negative, but there's a belief driving that perspective, because there's literally an infinite amount of ways you can look at something. And if you look at it in a certain way, you're going to have that effect back to you. So it's like, how do you change your relationship to be more positive when you have a negative relationship to it?
So are you talking about your relationship with the challenge, with the struggle, and not seeing you're having a challenge as being a negative thing? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like you're looking at the challenge, you're looking at the issue you have, and you're seeing how you're defining your relationship to it. So it's like, okay, let's say there's a challenge in front of you, right? And maybe it's, you know, let's say there's somebody in your that you're not directly talking to, but there's maybe somebody that's getting into a really bad mood, fighting with somebody, and you're seeing them, right? Like in at a restaurant or something. Uh, there's a challenge, and so it's like some people will look at it and they'll be affected by it differently than other people because of how they're relating to it, how they personally relate to that thing. And basically, like, the way you relate to it is gonna make or break your experience, you know?
Yeah, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
You're bringing yourself to the situation. Your own interpretation is always going to be a factor.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like when somebody has a challenge with, like, maybe like a romantic partner, the challenge that they have is their own relationship to it. They it's in their hands. It's the relationship to that experience that's the challenge, not the actual experience. Because it's like, if you change your relationship to it, then the challenge will change. Because your relationship to it is what changes the outcome. So it's like, some people think they need to go fix the other person. It's not about fixing the other person, it's about fixing how you relate to the other person.
So it's not the problem, it's not the circumstance, it's your interpretation of it.
Yeah.
That is everything.
That is everything.
We give meaning.
Yeah.
It's not that there's inherent meaning in circumstances.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the personal coaching with people, it's really easy because you find the person's, they'll say their challenge, and the way they're relating to it is the thing that needs to be transformed, not the actual challenge. Because once they change the way they relate to it, then the challenge changes, it disappears. They relate, then their relationship to it is different, and because their relationship to it is different, solves the challenge. So,
right. I feel like what you're talking about is something that comes up in the coaching that I do sometimes, where it's, again, not about the struggle, but it's often about, okay, well, what's the underlying purpose behind this situation?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this happening? So it's about looking at your life, your situation from a slightly bigger perspective.
Yeah.
From, as some might call it, even perhaps a fifth-dimensional way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Where you say, I'm going through this right now, but I wonder why this is happening.
Right.
And you look back at problems you've encountered in the past, and you're like, you start to recognize, there's always been, anytime I've had a challenge, something good is coming out from it. And so maybe there's going to be some good that comes out from this predicament. And that helps to change your relationship to the struggle.
Right. But it comes back to the idea that, yes, you will get a benefit from overcoming the challenge, and it's going to be more freedom or whatever of self-expression. But it also comes back to the point that, why am I in this predicament? It's because I'm relating to it in a way that's creating the predicament. So it's like I have an energy attached to it that's saying that this is bad, which ties me to it, or this is overly better than me, which ties me to it. It's like, either something is up on a pedestal and you're attached to it, or something is down in the dirt and it's like shouldn't be there and you're attached to it, not be, because you don't want it to be there, so you're so focused on it, so you're attached to it. So it's like your relationship to it is creating the predicament. And what I think you're talking about is, okay, once you figure that out and overcome it, you get a benefit. But the reason you're creating it, the benefit is realizing you're creating it. If you just change your, it's like it's all leading to you are the master. You're creating it
Sure.
all. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So how is your have you do like coaching for business people, but you also do like you channel people's deceased loved ones and stuff like that, right? Too.
Right.
And you channel ascended masters, which
Yes.
is what how we've been connecting in the past.
Right. So I do one-on-one sessions with people, and I can do straight career coaching. It doesn't have to do anything with psychic work or mediumship work. We can just talk practically about people's careers, people's lives. And then I do readings where I tune in and get information that might be about their career, their life,
Yeah.
their family, their their finances, and then mediumship, which is connecting to the souls of their loved ones on the other side and relaying messages from them. And then, of course, there's channeling, which we've talked about, and I think which we'll be doing today,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is allowing another being to communicate through you.
Mm-hmm.
But as you and I actually were talking about a little bit earlier, it's not necessarily that this is some completely separate being from me.
Yeah.
It really is another aspect of myself that I'm shifting my consciousness to allow that aspect of myself to come forward.
Yeah, and that's gangsta. Because it's like basically being strong enough to hold multiple identities of varying openness within yourself. Like you looking through a lens of like a limited character that's like, believes in linear time and these limits and X, Y, and Z, and then you have this other aspect within the consciousness that's an ascended master that has access to like multi-dimensional space-time, like has all these abilities, and then you have like even greater things than that, all within our great presence, and that's like amazing.
Who we are is multidimensional, it is unlimited, and I don't really think our brains can really process who we are.
Yeah, that's why we have to claim a more expansive identity which has the capacity to process that information. It's like you can, when you're channeling these masters, I feel like you're merging more with your ascended master identity. And in a way, like, you can look through those eyes if you choose to. And there's ways to do that. Because like when you're the identity of a human that has limited capacity to perceive the world, you're putting on that mask, and that mask only has that ability to see through this lens. But as we're talking about, you could put on the mask of an ascended master and look through that lens, and in idea, when you look through the eyes of more of a bigger lens, you'll see more. So it's like you'll have the brain and the capacity to process what's processed at that level. And my understanding is we've just been so believing we're so like unworthy and like we can't look through those eyes, like that's like something separate from us, it's like not a part of us, like, but it is us, and we can look through those eyes. And I think these conversations, and part of the thing that I'm super interested in, which I spoke to you more about before, which is like the ascension coaching, like the goal of like ascending from being like the limited lens into being able to look through a different lens, of a bigger lens. And it's like you're just ascending to a higher perspective that you already are, and that's really it. You already are that, but it's just how does a two-dimensional shape become a three-dimensional object? That's what we're talking about. How does a three-dimensional object become a fourth-dimensional object, or a fourth-dimensional consciousness become a fifth-dimensional consciousness? And then once you're a fourth-dimensional object, fifth-dimensional consciousness, how do you become a fifth dimensional object in sixth dimensional consciousness, and on and on and on. It's like, this is what we're talking about. How does it, in an analogy of how does a 2D shape become a 3D object? That's what we're doing. We're leaping into something multidimensional, which a three-dimensional is like, you can't grasp it from that level.
Yeah, I would say step one to that process is awareness. Recognizing
Yes.
if you are a two-dimensional being, if you become aware that maybe there is a third dimension out there,
Yep.
that's probably the biggest step along the path.
Yeah, like on some Carl Sagan, or how do you pronounce his last name?
Carl Sagan.
Sagan, yeah. He talks about that, that you can be lifted off the page, and basically it's almost like awareness is key, but then also grace is another aspect where you're pretty much like, that part of you has to like be like, oh, he wants to come up here, okay, let me help him out, like lend a hand. Like, you as that bigger you has to lend you as that smaller you a hand, if that smaller you is like, yo, what's up over there? Right? I feel like,
and probably do so gently, without pressure.
Yeah.
Without
that's how
force,
I want to.
without expectation.
Yeah.
All these sorts of things.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like you're getting into your
I feel like I'm starting to shift a little bit.
you-
My hands just kind of have started to assume the position.
You're locking into the channeling state. Do you lock into that position when you channel?
I do, and I don't know why. It just feels comfortable.
It's like a triangle, yeah.
Like with my hands clasped together at my waist in like a triangle pose. But I've noticed other people when they channel tend to do that also.
It feels like you're like a straight up like a circuit. Like you're like connecting, if your hands are like conduits, you're like locking in the energy, and it's like, I don't know, I think of the human body as like a very advanced piece of technology that we can access more of through awareness and stuff. And like when you do these things with your hands, like mudras, the Eastern mystics, they would hold hand positions to sort of finesse their way into like unique energies of like that are all around. It's like if we were an antenna, you're picking up kind of different things based on how you're holding your body and stuff.
And Kundalini Yoga talks about specific hand movements, body postures,
exactly.
which then trigger certain chemical reactions in your organs to promote health and well-being.
Yeah, exactly. I love Kundalini. It's my favorite yoga of all the yogas because it's light body technology, which is what I'm about. But I personally am on some like Western mystic Saint Germain swag path of like.
Oh, you got on the Saint Germain swag path, eh?
Yeah. So the Kundalini yoga is like, good technology, but Saint Germain's like, yo, I got a little shortcut for you, Western man, let me come holla at you. Like, let's reconnect these chakras, let's spin some triads, let's bring the soul down and the oversoul and like anchor that into your heart, and like let's lace your aura with the ascended masters, and like
Saint Germain keeps it gangster.
Yeah, Saint Germain, my an aspect of me, I suppose. When you channel people's deceased, do you go into the same hand position?
Actually, no. And I don't call it channeling people's deceased relatives. I call that more giving messages from them, because I'm having the communication with them. They're
talking to you,
and then
spirit level, and then your spirit is telling you like what they, and then you're saying what they said.
Right. It's still my personality conveying the message, whereas with channeling,
the ascended masters,
it's my conscious mind is a little bit more removed. I mean, it's still active, certainly, but it's a little bit more removed from the process.
And the masters speak while you're kind of chilling there.
Right. It's still my brain translating what it is that they're saying, and sometimes it feels like a word-for-word translation. Sometimes it might feel like a chunk of an idea, or perhaps a download, as some people call it, and I'm translating that. So it's still going to be my own words, but it's more direct.
Yeah, it's like your mind is, your rational mind isn't trying to like put its say into it.
It is trying. It's like it's not trying to.
It's not trying to.
Right.
It's more of just your brain is processing it and you're speaking it rather than you're trying to comment on it.
Exactly.
They're just more using your kind of you as like a telephone, where they're kind of using your brain and processes and your language to say, and you're kind of there too, and you can. That's where like where you have to be really clear of yourself for this process to be the best, right? Like you kind of have to put your doubt and fear and rational mind away.
That's the thing. That's the biggest thing for all of it is
Yeah.
is clearing the doubt,
Yeah.
clearing the just trusting and believing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I still struggle with that. I think most people who do this work at some level still doubt it because it's pretty crazy if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, I always think like people may say something like that is crazy, but to me it's like, well, why don't you? Okay, you may think that's crazy, and sure, it's crazy, but I'll argue that the most basic things are crazy. Like just the are you not questioning the fact that you're like identifying with like a body that's like flesh, quote unquote, and you're moving around, you're saying words that you can understand, but they're really like, think of listening to someone else's language. It's just like sounds, you know, and like it has this meaning. It's like life is really weird and magical and crazy. So like the most, even walking on the floor or like being in a room or like doing anything to me is just absolutely crazy, in a good way. There's good crazy, bad crazy. This is good crazy.
Totally agree, although I probably don't spend a lot of time thinking how crazy it is that I'm walking on a floor.
Yeah, or like,
but I agree with what you're saying.
Or like you're on a planet that's in space, or you're like the fact that you're this creature. Like, think of like how weird it is to be a creature, even, or like that it's made of cells. There's just like a lot of like really basic things are miraculous. Like we're in a like a reality within our consciousness. Like that's pretty crazy. We're like
that is very
we're
true.
We're like, this is like made of light, and this is a matrix of light, and we're like basically like player 1, player 2, like what's up? Like on some.
I gotta be the red guy.
Yeah, I'll be blue. I'll be the indigo guy. But yeah, so when people say things are crazy, I tend to remind myself that, well, if they only question the very basics, they would think those are crazy too. So let's, should we should we do the channeling? Or actually, I want to ask you one more
Okay.
question. How's it been presenting this work to the world? Like, how's it been like for you personally to be like channeling and to be, because it's pretty courageous, it's very niche, it's very you're developing a new idea for people sometimes, just even presenting this idea to them.
Right. That's been a challenge, and I would say I have received the full gamut of responses.
Yeah.
I've had friends unfriend me on Facebook, but I've had plenty of people tell me how, they love what I'm talking about because it's different, it's new, it speaks to them, it's things that they kind of have been feeling, but they're not really hearing it expressed so much.
Yeah.
And I've been getting that reaction, especially when I do workshops in intuition in the business world, where these things are not talked about so much. Yeah. And I'm getting a very positive response from a lot of people in that environment, but not all, of course.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I've really received every possible reaction that you could imagine.
Has it been the easiest has been the business, and then I'm sure the conversing with people's deceased, right? Those are easier ones. Channeling, ascended masters.
Yeah, amazingly enough, mediumship, less out there than say channeling.
Yeah, mediumship. Yeah,
Yeah, because there are people who could maybe accept someone who could be psychic. Oh,
yeah,
okay, maybe someone can do mediumship. Sure, there's television shows like that, so that's
yeah,
getting a little bit more accepted.
yeah,
But then channeling,
yeah.
that's just a whole other ball game.
Let alone like ascension and being that identity of like, like, oh, okay. Um, and then the business stuff is pretty also like open, right?
I even channeled once in an office conference room
Mm.
because people are everywhere. People have jobs, so
Yeah,
and people are opening up. And so
yeah,
there are going to be there are people in the business world who are very much opening up to
yeah,
this. Like there are plenty of CEOs who have a trusted psychic that they go to on all their decisions. But what is not so common is people coming in and doing psychic work in a very open way
for like everyone there.
for everyone, for the boss, for the employees. Hey, this is how we tap into our own intuition more to help us make choices for ourselves and our
Yeah,
careers.
yeah. I mean, ideally, it should be taught in schools, but
It should be.
yeah. But I feel like this is just a good idea to say out loud in general. That's like everybody is a puzzle piece, and if everybody just does their excitement and does their part, we'll have more openness spread around. Like you're doing in all these different aspects. I'm doing my best where I can, and as basically just a message. If you're listening right now, go out there and do your thing.
We are one giant multidimensional puzzle.
Yeah, we gotta get everybody to do their piece. Um, okay, well, I'm excited. I want to dive deeper into talking about ascension, which is my personal passion. Being how do we make that leap into our multidimensional self? How can we actually embody it? What is the scientific approach to that? Like, and these masters, these ascended masters that you channel, they've done it. They've had lifetimes on the planet. They've gone through the same type of challenges that we have, and they've sort of passed those challenges and were able to uh, reconnect with their more expansive self and then embody it, be it, and ascend their physical body and dematerialize it. Basically, like they jumped from being a human to being a cosmic human, and they did it through their own free will. And low key, they had a harder time back then because the environment was more dense. So like now it's easier, as you're saying, like mindfulness is on the cover of Time magazine. We're more connected through the media. Ideas that took longer to share with people are now being spread faster. So it's easier. It's more, even though it's still sort of taboo in some sense, it's way less taboo than in those times where there was more dense violence and separation, and like all those seven deadly sins were more savage, I would say. And so they did it, and it'd be great to talk to them about whoever comes through. I'm excited to see who comes through to talk about Ascension specifically, and we'll see what we get.
To what you're saying right now, I totally agree. I mean, what all these folks like Jesus and Buddha did were phenomenal. What I had come through in some of my channelings was they look at us and say, well, you guys are doing it lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And so they give us props for that.
What do you mean?
In terms of coming in and incarnating in a body on Earth, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime,
Yeah.
like they're like, no, that's where it's at.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I feel like that's the goal is like you have to I mean maybe you don't have to, but I feel like you're on this earth as like sort of like, if you're infinite, right? So you may be going into different levels, right? There's like the earth level, and like the earth level is very challenging because it's like very limited. So like when you're infinite, you have it all. Like when you say beach, you're on the beach. When you say apple's in your hand. There's no limit. You are it right away. when you go into the earth experience, it's like being at the advanced stage of a video game, you know, where you're like, wow, I'm gonna go into this level of limitation, and the way that I pass this level is I have to ascend. I have to start at this space and then I ascend. And in a way, by me ascending, I help raise everyone else.
Hmm.
So it's like I feel like there's been these people, these maybe like we've already reached these high levels of consciousness, right? And then we volunteered to sort of get really into this density, right? And find our way back into our higher, more expanded self. And you do it lifetime after lifetime until you can finally become that which you already are. And these masters have done that. And what I'm saying is, I feel like they've done it at even harder points in time. So there's, yes, they're giving us props, but I feel like they see us as them, and we're one and the same, and they're like, keep going, you've got this, you know. So let's see what they say, I guess.
That sounds good.
You get it in. Hello.
Hello.
So can I ask who I'm speaking with?
You have connected with Jesus.
Jesus. Hello. Hello again. I've spoken with you multiple times through this channel already, and it's nice to have you back. It's I have a personal connection with you because I've done some of this light body work on with my own sort of consciousness, and I've been connecting with your energy specifically, and it's almost like I feel like your energy has this very warm feeling in my heart and around me. So
You are able to detect this energy from this channeling because you are that energy as well. You recognize this energy in another being only because you can feel its connection to that which is already in you.
yeah, and I feel that even the greatest type of love I felt by with other people, I had that realization that love that I'm feeling for other people is within me, and I'm actually the one feeling it. I mean, they're triggering that feeling that I have within me, but I'm the one feeling it, and I guess that brings up the question of like, can I feel that great ecstasy and love and bliss just on command if it's within me?
This ecstasy, this love, this bliss that you speak of is your natural state, and you can tune into your natural state at will, on command, as you say, simply by accepting it and removing that which is not that state. So if you shed these layers, these other emotions, these other feelings that you have, then you will be left with nothing but this bliss, this euphoria, this natural state, which is what you naturally are. So it is not about becoming that. It is more about removing those things that are not that.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that 100%. And it brings up the thought that when I remove, there's two spaces that I remove this energy that's not of that frequency. There's two ways that I approach removing it. One way is I remove it where it's almost like I want it gone, so my almost like my personality, my character wants to take it and sort of like remove it by like a force, right? And that seems to almost be the energy that I want to remove itself, is that like my character is resistance to it, perpetuates it, and that's actually the exact energy that is already creating resistance, if that's making sense. And so that way it doesn't really work, but it comes up to try to be the way to remove it. And then the way that I then really have been embodying more is being, just staying in the state of who I really am, and just giving one command of actually qualifying that energy as the truth rather than the issue.
As you say, it is not about force when it comes to removing energies which would not be your preference. It is about acceptance first and foremost. Accept that you are experiencing this. Accept that this energy is an aspect of yourself, but then embrace it. Learn from it what wishes to come through for you to learn. Experience it. Give it its time. Accept it. Really love it. And by doing so, you can allow it to pass.
Right. That's where I get into the idea of presence and being the one that holds that, all of that. Um, can you talk to me a little bit more specifically about the ascension process and how that looks for people on the planet in general?
Think of the ascension process as a flower blooming. What the flower will be is already within it. It's a matter of opening oneself up to the truth that we are. It is a matter of unveiling, unraveling, unlayering the different aspects of ourself. It is simply a becoming. It is becoming the things which you already have been. It is a matter of choosing to move in that direction. It is a matter of choosing ascension for yourself. The map is already there. It's already there for you. It's a matter of moving in the direction of ascension, taking that first step, and the other steps then unfold for you.
So it's just making the decision to ascend.
It is making the decision to ascend. It is being present. It is following your excitement and being in the moment every step of the way.
And what does the ascended state feel like for you?
Really, it's a oneness. It's a oneness with all things. It's a oneness with all beings. It's a oneness with all times. So it is that you are all things and all times and all beings simultaneously.
Was it painful for you to, in a sense, be all of it rather than it's just a part? For example, some people feel like they're going to lose their sense of self, and they're going to be this like oneness without an individuality. And I could see that you still will be an individual, but can you talk on about that, of how your individual self changes from the unascended to the ascended state?
You keep all those things that you feel make you unique. You still are that self at its core, but now you have expanded yourself to include others' selves, and you have adapted that. You've adopted that into your being. So it is coming back to the flower analogy. You still have that petal that is you, but now yourself contains all the other petals in the universe, in the cosmos as well.
And so how does the free will come in? Are you able to, do you allow those other petals to, how does the free will, I guess, play in when you're all of it then? Who's the one that acts then from that space?
You are. And if I were to say this to someone else, they are.
Right.
We all are.
So when you decide to, let's say, become a petal again, that is expressing a individual body in the earth, let's say, if you were to just come back and project a body, right?
If you were to do that, a part of that process would be forgetting that you are also those other petals. And now I am just this one petal here on earth. I am not connected to other petals. But then if you recognize that there is this possibility of ascension, you can choose that as a path for yourself and begin to incorporate the recognition of the whole flower.
What are your creative experiences like in the ascended state?
It is a choosing. It is a choosing what would further my bliss as well as what would further the whole. It is combining these elements of the soul's journey plus the journey of the collective. It is a matter of integrating these energies and choosing creative pursuits that are going to be for all, but also for the higher collective, for the higher purpose of my individual journey.
Interesting. And when you ascend into your more expansive multidimensional self from just a part, what does anything change in your psychology, or is it that you embody it right where nothing really changes?
Psychology, of course, would be a human term. For psychology is of the mind. As souls, there is no mind, there is the soul. But as far as what changes, it's a shifting to a greater awareness. That is really what the ascension process is about. It is an unfolding. It is an integration of ideas and experiences that are greater. Maybe that's greater in terms of incorporating more beings. Maybe that's greater in terms of incorporating more dimensions. But it's really a matter of expansion.
And what was your greatest challenge to making that leap?
Making the leap to ascension.
Yeah.
There is a joy in having a body and being a physical being. The greatest challenge for me then is giving up that experience. But at the same time, giving up is of course not exactly the right expression because it is still a part of you. But the joy and the lessons and the excitement of being a physical being and no longer having that experience was the greatest challenge for me.
So, how did you overcome it?
Simply by following my bliss. If it truly was my highest excitement to stay a body, to incarnate again, then that is what I would have done. But there was something else, something more greater, something more expansive that moved me along.
And you talk about following your bliss, in the ascended state as well as in the unascended state. your bliss, is it, I like to talk about the one, God, or however you want to say it, the creator, the presence, can you talk to me about your relationship to the one and the bliss that I suppose you can generate with that relationship?
It feels as if there is a cocoon of love, a cocoon of warmth, of understanding, of protection surrounding me with whatever I do. So if I move this way, if I move that way, that energetic cocoon is with me at all times. I feel as if it is in me, it is around me, it is me, it is all of us. But I feel a particular it is as if it is my eternal home.
And it's very enjoying. It's very like pleasant to feel that way, to feel at home in that sense.
In human terms, it is like the feeling a toddler might have carrying his most beloved blanket around with him at all times.
Mm. And what I'm interested in is also the light body, which is sort of like I guess once you ascend, you have this formless identity that's ever present and omnipresent and omnipotent and omnisentient, and out of that you can generate another body, so to speak, to have as a representation of yourself in this ascended state. And this body would be made of light, self-sustainable, doesn't die. You can project it and then dematerialize it, just as a sort of a symbol to look through a lens that's individual but also limitless at the same time. Can you tell me how, what's one of the key, and I have some idea of this myself already, but what are some of the key ways to constructing this light body?
A metaphor for the light body is like a prism, where your light body serves as a mechanism by which you can perceive other realities. It is almost as if this light body we have is the tool that we can use to connect to other versions of ourselves and to other timelines, other universes. It is almost as if this light body is our time traveling mechanism.
So would you say that making the leap into Ascension has been worth it?
I laugh because the answer is yes.
Because, how you were saying that the biggest challenge was to be hanging on to your individual, the earth human body, and how that is an enjoyable experience, but there's more out there.
Yes, I have come to learn that who I thought was my individual self has so much more than I could have possibly conceived in a human form. Mm-hmm. And that by incorporating other energies and incorporating all that is into yourself, it enriches what you previously experienced as your own identity.
Mm. And, my approach to ascension has been scientific in the sense that um, I I do like rewiring work. So like I'll do meditations and run light through my energy body, like through the chakras, through the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, uh, the etheric body. I'll do these meditations where I basically connect my attention to those higher chakras of the soul, the oversoul, the Christ self, the light, the sound, all these realms that where basically it's sort of like ding ding ding, I'm connecting myself to myself that's unknown consciously with my will. Like I'll sit in a meditation and I'll cast my attention into the unknown, but I'll do it in a specific sector of the unknown because it's so vast. So I'll cast my attention into the soul. I'll cast my and I don't know what's in the soul because it's unknown to me. But as I do that, I get more information downloaded that way. And what I found is by putting my attention into these different aspects of myself, like the oversoul, the soul, the light, the sound, the higher and higher aspects, the other lives that I'm living, that type of stuff. I download more of that information from those aspects of myself, and it's almost like I'm this black spider weaving this white web of myself or reconnecting myself. Um, can you talk about that and how we can work with nature to kind of reconnect?
I am feeling drawn to ask you why it is that you wish to ascend.
Interesting. I think it's sort of what you were reflecting back to me of personally, I wish to ascend because I just wish to be an example of showing humanity what's possible. I wish to open a door through myself that shows people that there's infinite energy at our command to produce abundance, and that abundance can be in the form of peace, it can be in the form of any material thing, and it can be in the form of happiness and generating those feelings of bliss, that are our very nature. And, I feel that ascending and leaping into this consciousness that I am and being that example will be one of the most uh, powerful and potent teachings that I feel like I can give on the planet. I can talk about it, I can write about it, I can do all that, but if I can embody it, if I could show that this is a reality, that this is a possibility, then I think that would be the greatest fulfillment of like why I'm here. And I also have a desire to explore that freedom of accessing these different realities and the wealth of experience that they hold. Like there's just something about the limitation that is also enjoyable, but it's to me it's I want to explode into more of myself. There's just this feeling of
It is no wonder that you have connected to Jesus' energies, for there is that commonality, that common link in teaching humanity what it is that we are capable of. One thing that I am picking up is in regards to your desire to be free. At the same time, it almost feels as if there is a desire to escape from your human experience at that same time. So I would caution you on that desire for freedom and make sure it is not a longing for escape.
True. And I think that my desire for ascension, attention, um, it's a nice Freudian slip. Shout out to my OG teacher. Um, Shout out Jim Self. I think that my desire for ascension is been teaching me to relax more and be more accepting of here and now and my limits and enjoy that more. So ironically, my desire for freedom has caused me to relax and feel more free here in whatever state I'm in now, without a need really to have anything change at all. So that's been a blessing for what it's worth. Is the path to ascension has relaxed me and has allowed me to just enjoy myself without the need for the ascension, for without the need to change, because I think by recognizing that I am already more, that I am already that, it's, I don't know, it calms me down. There is less of a need to escape. There's more of a, okay, I can relax. Like I am that already, on some level. Like I can just chill.
As you and the channel were speaking about earlier, it all comes down to being present and enjoying wherever you are in the process just as much as you anticipate enjoying the feeling of ascension.
Yes. And, for me, actually, what that brings up is this idea of, like, what's, why bother doing anything really other than, I guess or older version of me would be very ambitious and has this need to like make things happen. And as I relax more, I find things come to me rather than me going out to make things happen. And so it's been also just an interesting comment to make, is that as I relax more into myself, I still want to do things, but the way I'm creating has been changing. Um,
How do you create now?
Now I just imagine something and then I um, allow that thing to find me where I am. Before I used to try to go to it and leave where I would always go into the future, so to speak, of like chasing after this thing, rather than now I would just, think about something that would be pleasant to experience and allow it to find me rather than trying to go find it and sort of hustle ambition type of, it's a different way.
By setting your vibration to match that vibration of what it is that you wish to attract to you.
Yeah, it's almost like this is like a good feeling, a good image that I like to like imagine and think and feel, and I'm right here with it. And in a sense, like what you're saying is bringing to greater clarity is I'm being that vibration of that image. And then that image sort of flows to me. And the interesting comment on ascension is you find the more and more you relax, you find how supported you are, like you don't need to like be fearful that, oh, will you be provided for, will you not be provided for with the next step. You're always provided for. And it's like some of the fear and the doubt goes away as I feel like I'm relaxing more into the being present of like into the presence of like, if I really need something, if I really need, like I just trust that I'll have whatever I really need. Like kind of what you were talking about, the cocoon, like always supported, always watched, always like here's what you need next, here's what you need next. Like there's this feeling of I'm being given what I need all the time, and I can say I'd like this and that and the other, and I'll be given whatever I ask for, but it's also like I'm also just being given things even if I don't ask for them, that are gonna help me, like, you know what I mean, that are gonna expand me, that are gonna nurture me. So it's been relaxing.
I do know what you mean. And yes, you are very much on your path to ascension.
Yeah, and part of me still wants to like make it tangible and like sort of translate this experience for others. And I think one of the most exciting things would be to exemplify it.
Right. And what it felt like you were about to say, there is this almost desire to prove it to others. And within that desire, there might be a little bit of validation seeking. Rather, it is a matter of just being it and letting that feeling of ascension, of openness, boom off of you.
Right, and I think that's why maybe I even said attention. It's like there's this feeling of like, hey, look, this is like the juice, this is the sauce, like you guys really want to fuck with this right here because it feels good, like look at this type of thing. And that in a sense somewhat defeats the purpose to that whole unity consciousness. Like it's separation. Like there is really no need for attention. You are the attention. You are the attention point. I am attention itself. Like I'm holding my attention on my body. I'm holding my attention on you. I am attention. I am ascension. I am attention.
These are very, very much human struggles experienced by the most enlightened of beings who have taken a human body.
Do you feel that there's going to be a ascension with like groups of people?
It will be ascension in waves. It might not appear to be following any kind of geographic pattern or geographic wave of ascension, but it will be more following a certain energy where certain people who have this type of energy within them will begin to ascend, and there might not be any kind of patterns recognizable in terms of geography or race or region, but it will spread in waves in the coming years.
And do you have any, I guess, words of advice for the first wave?
The term first wave is probably not exactly accurate. We would rather say the coming wave, the current wave, because this has always been happening.
Yep. Thank you for that. Keeping it multidimensional, as always.
We would say connect with others. Connect with others on this path will help you to maintain that progress, to question less, to enjoy the process more.
What are some of the, I guess, prerequisites or conditions one must meet to ascend?
Ascension is a state of oneness. So anything that is not oneness must be removed. So anything that is about separation, anything that is about divisiveness, anything that says this is me and that is you and we are not alike, we are separate from each other, those ideas, those feelings, those belief systems must be eliminated.
And now, do you need to have 100% conscious awareness of unity all the time in order to be ascended, or is there some leeway? Like, can you be, 51% aware
Ascension is 100%. It is the recognition of complete oneness
all the time?
always.
Dang. Okay. Does it? That's why it's like sort of like a process. But is there sort of leaps and bounds that happen? Once you reach certain percentages, or are you literally winning your ascension percent by percent?
Looking at it in terms of percentages is a linear way of thinking about ascension. As you know, ascension is not a linear process. It is more of an evolution. It is more of an opening, an expansion, a shifting. And so it is an ongoing process, and it might say bend in one direction or another, but it's ultimately going to bend toward ascension.
So it's like at any moment you can have a shift that retains the permanency of full consciousness.
Yes, you can experience moments that are essentially ascension, essentially oneness. You can experience those moments, but they might be fleeting. Ultimately, once you have ascended, that will be your state. Always.
Right, but so like you can have enough of those moments to generate certain state of consciousness where you're more aware of the oneness more permanently, right? But then you can almost like make one big final leap into the. You know how in alchemy they refer to this work as the great work, and they refer to ascension sort of, at least I like to refer to it as the philosopher's stone, is like the permanent consciousness of the ascended state.
The more of those moments of oneness that you experience, the more they will come, and then the time between them will decrease. It is almost equivalent to the analogy of a popcorn bag in the microwave, and a pop is like this moment of ascension, and then the pops increase the longer the bag is in the microwave, until ultimately the whole bag is popped.
So it gets faster and faster and faster and faster, like.
It can.
Yeah. So in the Eastern yogic sciences, there's different sciences, different religions, and different paths to ascension. I would say that every spiritual path, every religious path, is final goal is ascension. It's like you're graduated, basically. You've like ascended. You've passed the experience of this experience, and there's a sort of a process. Each path has their own way to kind of go, and you can take a little bit from every one, right? Is there certain meditations or techniques that you would maybe recommend right now that maybe are your favorite, most exciting, most pleasurable to practice to start to have more of those experiences of oneness?
Sitting peacefully in nature with your eyes open is one such technique. Could be in the woods, could be at the ocean, taking in the beauty, the majesty of all that is surrounding you here on this earth plane is one such path.
Because in that space, you're sort of holding all of it. You're embodying it all. It's like
you are
within you.
It is a state which gives your active mind an opportunity to witness physically that there is so much greater than you. And when you start to let your imagination move in that direction, it naturally lends itself to recognizing if there is more to me in this physical plane than meets the eye, perhaps there is more to me beyond this plane than meets the eye or meets the mind.
True. And would you be able to give one more example?
Sitting in front of another person and looking eye to eye. In the eye is a reflection of the cosmos. This gives you the opportunity to see oneness, to see the cosmos directly in front of you. So this practice of eye gazing, of soul gazing, has very, very profound benefits.
Okay, and when you soul gaze, do you feel like maybe is there a danger to connecting more deeply with the person and tying yourself to that person, or is it really like you're saying this cosmos?
In this person is all of the cosmos. In this one person is every person. And in the eyes are the window to the soul, and the soul is ultimately the one. So, looking directly into a person's eyes, you are not necessarily connecting just to that individual. You are connecting to all.
That's
You do so.
that's why you got to look through their eyes deeper.
Correct. And that is why it is the eyes you are looking at, because the eyes open up to
Yeah.
the greater beingness.
And that's actually, it reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend about how you can speak to any part of an individual. You could speak to their multidimensional part, you could speak to their very limited part, but by your choice in your inner relationship to them, you could say, I want to speak to the part of them that's connected to Jesus, let's say, as I'm doing right now, you know, through this conduit. I want to speak to the universe through this person.
You can do that. That part may not speak back, but you can always do that.
Right. And what is it that the ascended masters, I guess, wish for? If somebody wants to be of service and work more directly with the ascended masters, what is it that somebody that you'd like to, work with people on?
If someone wishes to connect with us, we would encourage them to continue to do the inner work, to continue to look at those aspects of themselves that are of a separation belief system, and continue to address that, while at the same time begin to call upon us. When you call upon us, we always listen, and we respond when you are ready to receive us.
True. And can you tell me about the I guess the abilities that, once you ascend, you have all these abilities open to you, like the fullness of the presence. You can pretty much have command over the elements to shape or create this, that, or the other, as long as it's not impeding on someone's free will. Is that fun to do once you've ascended? Or is that kind of like, I'd rather go out there and like explore all these other universes?
What I find is fun is that which benefits all of creation. For me, that is my bliss. That is what brings me joy. For every being, it will be unique.
And why is that fun for you? Like other people's happiness increase your happiness type of thing?
Other people are me.
Exactly. So by helping others, you're helping aspects of yourself.
Correct. And I am in a place where I have more of a visceral connection to others so that I experience another's emotion as if they are mine. And that is what happens with Ascension.
And you're able to handle that though because you're also simultaneously experiencing the bliss of your nature, like source energy.
That bliss is my nature.
So you can feel like somebody's emotional pain without being like affected by it in a detrimental way.
Correct.
So it's exciting to like, help yourself. But to me, one thing that comes up is if everything already exists here and now and all these people are you, there's going to be forever realities that are existing where people are suffering, and it's like, if aren't you just perceiving a reality where, can't you not eliminate those realities? Aren't they always going to exist where
Having this desire to eliminate them would imply that there is something wrong with them, that they do not have a purpose, whereas there is a purpose to having these realities, that the people experiencing those situations, they are living their purpose, and by treating these other realities as if they are something to be eliminated, that is not the right energy.
I guess I don't mean eliminated, maybe that's what I said, but I guess what I'm saying is like you want to help these aspects of yourself, right? You want to alleviate their suffering. I mean, that's how I see it. Those aspects are me. I'd like for me to be in greater bliss and excitement. So I'm going to be helping those aspects. And by doing so, in a sense, I shift my collective identity into more blissful realities. And that's helping the whole, that's helping my individual self, it's helping my whole self. Um, I guess I'm just answering my own question here. So maybe we'll move on. I have some Jesus tarot cards here. I'm going to pull one and see what the quote here says. So this one says, "If you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove." Matthew 17:20. So it's basically saying like, if you believe, you can say to that doubt, to that fear, or to that mountain, physical or non-physical, move, and it will move.
It is, if there is a doubt, it is and the way to eliminate a doubt is to overcome that doubt with greater belief in its opposite.
And you cultivate that.
And you be that.
You be that. Baby steps, and then you are it. I'm going to pull one more here. This one says, "Seek and you shall find." Matthew 7:7.
Seek and you shall be.
Just follow your excitement and you become your excitement.
Become.
And I'll pull one last one here. "Forgive and you shall be forgiven." Luke 6:37.
When you hold a grudge, when you hold a resentment, in terms of the chemistry in your body, in terms of the energetic sensation, it is the equivalent of holding those feelings toward yourself. So yes, if you let go of those feelings of resentment, you are easing the pressure on yourself.
And you become lighter.
Become lighter.
Okay, I know I said the last one was the last one, but this is the last one. Pulling one more. Unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God. Mark 4:11.
Repeat.
Unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God.
We know everything. We have all the answers inside us. Truth is our birthright.
There you have it, from Jesus himself. Thank you. So, Zach, thank you.
Axum.
Thank you for channeling the channeling, and it's been a pleasure chopping it up with you.
Definitely a pleasure.
How was your experience channeling this time around?
It was interesting because I felt at a couple points my conscious mind wanting to insert a joke, and then I would almost do that, but then I would stop because that probably would not be authentic to the to the channeling.
So you felt like you wanted to like collaborate more.
Yeah, I think in this experience it felt more conversational than other channelings in the past, which tend to be more one-sided.
Yeah.
Whereas because it was feeling more conversational, it kind of kicked my active mind into gear. A little bit more.
Yeah.
And my active mind tends to want to make a joke of things.
Yeah.
But then I think Jesus held those jokes back.
Oh, okay. He's like, let's chill out on that because
Right.
then they take it to a certain direction and.
Yeah. I think if I would have kind of gone further with that, then it could have taken it out of gear.
Taking you out of the channeling state.
Exactly.
Yeah. And almost maybe like there's this idea that Jesus has to act a certain way, or like has to be like, or his energy is a certain way, is different.
Right. And in fact, I know when I've done some channelings before, Jesus might come through, or whoever I'm channeling might come through with a joke.
Yeah.
But it would not sound like something that Zach would make.
Right.
And I found my Zach mind kind of wanted to bust some in there at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find anything you said surprising?
I like the popcorn. I like the popcorn thing. I saw that image in my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting one.
And that's actually a good one because, it clarified for me, because, you're talking about it in percentages, but really it kind of is, it's like X amount of popcorns pop, and then you're 100%, kind of is how I was thinking it. But it's also kind of like, it's just becoming more frequent, less time in between, and it's like.
Right.
Yeah.
Or actually, I remember when I was saying that, I was also seeing it being not necessarily like individual moments of connectedness, but each of the moments would be connected to each other longer. And so the popcorn analogy wasn't exactly right in terms of what I was feeling, but it was close to it.
Yeah, so it's like they're more connected with each pop too.
Right.
And it's almost like a heartbeat on one of those monitors where it goes beep, 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 and then it goes, when you're dead, it just goes like.
Ooh, that might be a better analogy. Yeah.
Because it's like you're popping, and then.
Maybe Jesus didn't want to get all morose on it.
Yeah. And then you've ascended. You're no longer here. Well, you kind of are in a different way. Is there anything you feel like you wanted to do better or different?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think towards the end, I started to feel the connection a little bit weaker, and I felt like I was struggling a little bit more with some of the responses.
Right. But from my point of view, everything was interesting and it felt like that your energy shifts, you know, when you go into channeling state, your energy shifts a bit,
Mm-hmm.
like you said with the hands, but also just like your focus and how you speak and present
Mm.
slightly changes, you know, and it gives me the feeling that I'm talking to a different part of you, you
Mm.
know, and that part of you is saying things that I wouldn't really be talking to about with Zach, maybe to the degree, you know, because it's like you're taking on that responsibility to channel this.
Sure.
So it's like, it's just interesting how like we put on masks and like Zach will be like, I'm this character and I'm gonna be talking like this, you know, and like, and then the Jesus mask sort of comes on or whatever, and it's like different, you know, it's
Yeah.
just different.
It's like more of a focus. It's
Yeah.
more. It's a little bit more succinct.
Yep.
It's more confident.
Yeah. Like I am that, I'm embodying that, I'm
Right.
speaking from that space. Yeah. It makes me think like in channeling, like, because I'm fascinated with this idea that like, okay, I am these ascended masters in some aspect. They are part of my consciousness. They're an aspect. I'm connected as if they're a thread on the web of that I am. And, you know, I can, so to speak, put on the mask of like Hercules and feel all the thought strings and emotions that come with that energy, or like I can put on the mask of like a Jesus and feel a different energy. It's like a warmth. It's like I in some of my teaching, this program that I'm developing, Ascension Alchemy uh, program, it where you can like put on a word, like you could, if you put on the word of like focus, you feel very different when you're wearing focus. Or if you put on the word of like play, it's different feeling than focus, you know. And similarly to the idea of you put on the mask of, let's say Cleopatra, it's a different experience than you put on the mask of Kuan Yin, the master of compassion, or like you put on the mask of Mary Magdalene or Anna. You know, I'm trying to get some of these female aspects of the masters in. Uh, Mother Mary, you know, just these, you could, it could be Archangel Michael, like different feelings. And it's like, how do you put these masks on and embody them in a, I'm already feeling empowered just saying it, and it brings in this energy into my body, like a little like shot of like that feeling of that their
Yeah.
feeling.
Words. Words contain a lot of energy.
Yeah, and the name contains the identity almost. Like I think that's even in fairy tale and myths. Like if you know the name of your adversary or whatever, you almost can conquer them. You know,
And
in
I
magical.
In fact, I've heard the concept that we choose our names. That I've heard personally that my higher self chose my name.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, I think it's so powerful. Like name is almost like the beginning of your mask. Like it's like the sound. Like actually, names is fascinating to me. Like you know, my given birth name is Maxim, and my last name is Gutnick, and I've been needing to work up to my name Maxim. Like I've was Maxim, and then I started going by Max as like a nickname, and like then like evolving back into Maxim, and then like now I like to go by Maxim Presence because the presence reminds me of my greater self that contains that identity of Maxim, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then even at the same time, I also sometimes feel like I don't even identify with the name anymore. I don't know. It's a weird thing of like,
Right. What you're talking about in terms of not even connecting at all times to your own name, it just feels like it's part of your one way that you're experiencing the lack of separation, your connection to others. Well, if
yeah,
I'm calling myself Maxim and you are not Maxim, that's one way of separating ourselves. But
yeah,
hey, I don't. What if I can just be a being like you're a being?
yeah, yeah, and that's what I like find interesting is like I can in this ascension process is like the more you not reject maybe the maxim part and you can have it be there and see it as a mask that you're wearing,
Mm.
you can identify with it, but also like you're integrating this presence part, which is like the part that contains the maxim contains the unknown element too, because it's like the unknown is the thing that's there too, and then the love is there that connects it all. So there's all these different parts that are like held together, and it's like I find it just embodying all of them at the same time, and sort of being able to like be them all, and like not reject one part to abandon it so that you can ascend and be this other part. It's like, no, be the small part, ascend and be the big part, and the small part, and the love, and the unknown element that pops up, be it all at the same time. Like, integrate it all, be the whole, be all of the parts, the big part, the small part, the connection part, the unknown part, all 4 parts, be it all.
Yeah.
Yes. So, do you have any lasting comments that you want to say about, the conversation, and maybe any messages you want to say personally to people listening? Where could they find you?
Yes, thank you. I'm actually going to be doing a spirit circle on March 10th in Westwood. So this will be a small group where everyone who comes gets a mediumship reading from me. You can find me at zachloeb.com, ZACHLOEB. Thank you, Maxim, for having me here. This was awesome.
Yeah.
I love talking to you. It always stretches me a little bit, which is great. Appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
May peace be with you.
I wore my peace shirt today.
Yes. Amen to that. Thanks for listening to the Indigo Minute podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and go to indigominute.com for more information about Ascension and videos that talk about the process to raising your frequency and expanding your identity to becoming your true self. Thank you. Until next time, it's been a pleasure being your host. Many blessings.